across southern Scotland too. But then further south, that low pressure system sends bands of showers into Wales and southwest England. In between, could see some fog patches forming, could be quite dense in places as well, and it will be a very mild night, double digits for most. On to Friday. We'll just watch these showers. Initially over Wales, southwest England, Northern Ireland, but spreading to northern England, across the Midlands as well. Rain lingering in northern Scotland for much of the day. Should be a drier day for eastern parts of England, but even here later on, we are likely to see some showers moving in. Won't rain all day. The showers will zip through because of the strength of the breeze, and it will be quite warm in the sunny spells, temperatures in the mid or even high teens across the south. The showers, though, could be quite heavy, continuing to whiz through as we go through Friday evening. Nowhere immune from the downpours then. Perhaps showing signs, though, into the weekend of easing off across England and Wales. Decent chance here of most of Saturday being dry, but we'll see some slow-moving showers across parts of Scotland, Northern Ireland, particularly southern and central Scotland. Decent spells of sunshine, I suspect, for England and Wales on Saturday, but some showers return to the southwest later on. Not as windy on Saturday either, and still mild. Temperatures across the north 14, 15, further south 17 or 18. Sunday sees the return of more blustery showers, but all the while it stays very mild. Bye for now.
Weekday afternoons on GB News, we've got the whole of the UK covered. From 12 to 3, it's GB News Day with me, Mark Longhurst.
And me, Gloria Di Piero. You'll get the very latest on everything that's been going on across our great nation.
And from 3 till 6, watch out for GB News Live with me, Patrick Christys. I'm not here to mess around. With all the biggest topics and guests, you will always be up to date. GB News Day and GB News Live from 12 p.m.
Only on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello there, it's Eamon Holmes here from Breakfast on GB News. We're not just on your television and your screens, you know.
We're on DAB plus digital radio, so you can listen to your favourite shows on the move.
If you've not yet listened to GB News Radio, it's very simple. We're on your radio player and TuneIn apps, on your smart speaker, phone or tablet, or online at gbnews.uk.
Take us with you wherever you go. GB News Radio.
You never have to miss a moment of the People's Channel.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday. And there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. You've been cancelled. Join the club.
Oh my goodness me.
And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
Hello, I'm Simon Evans. Join me on GB News for Headliners at 11 p.m, where I'll be joined by two of the country's top comedians as we take a look at tomorrow's newspapers tonight. If it's a big story, we'll be covering it, I guarantee, but we'll also have some fun along the way. That's GB News Headliners at 11 p.m. We won't put you to sleep, unlike some of the other paper review shows out there. So join us, 11 p.m, 7 nights a week.
Well, hello there. It's 6 o'clock on, how shall I put this? Quite a slow news day. Or not. Guess what? Look, they have let me out, everybody. I am live in Kent today. Well, what do we say? Where do we even begin? After 44-day premiership, the shortest, by the way, in British history, and a mere 24 hours after describing herself as a fighter, not a quitter, Liz Truss has quit. So tonight, was she right to go? What and who is next? And a massive question looms. What about Boris Johnson? Woohoo! Rumblings there. Is he the future? Have the Tories lost the plot? And should there be a general election? And of course, when in Kent, it would be rude, wouldn't it, not to talk about migration. And of course, our new Home Secretary, well, right now, I mean, anything changes these days, but for now, our new Home Secretary, Grant Shapps, is he the future? Is he going to fix the migration problem that we seem to face in this country? We will have all that to come, but first, let's bring ourselves up to speed with tonight's latest headlines.
Michelle, thank you. Good evening to you. Well, yes, it has been another tumultuous day in Westminster. A new Prime Minister, we're told, will be elected by the end of next week, with Liz Truss, the Prime Minister, standing down today after just 44 days in the job. Announcing her resignation earlier, the Prime Minister said she had been unable to deliver the mandate on which she had been elected. It followed a meeting with the chair of the 1922 committee, Sir Graham Brady, which Number 10 had said was to gauge the temperature of Tory MPs. Liz Truss becomes the shortest-serving Prime Minister in British history when she leaves office.
I recognise, though, given the situation, I cannot deliver the mandate on which I was elected by the Conservative Party. I have therefore spoken to His Majesty the King to notify him that I am resigning as leader of the Conservative Party. This morning I met the chairman of the 1922 committee, Sir Graham Brady. We've agreed that there will be a leadership election to be completed within the next week.
And regarding that very subject, Sir Graham Brady, within the last hour or so, has said new leadership candidates will need the backing of at least 100 Tory MPs to get on the ballot.
The process for the parliamentary stages of the contest will begin now. Nominations are now open. Will close at 2 o'clock on Monday. Candidates will be expected to have at least 100 colleagues nominating them.
Well, the Labour leader, Sir Keir Starmer, is calling for a general election.
Well, what a mess. And this is not just a soap opera at the top of the Tory party. It's doing huge damage to our economy and to the reputation of our country. And the public are paying with higher prices, with higher mortgages. So we can't have a revolving door of chaos. We can't have another experiment at the top of the Tory party. There is an alternative, and that's a stable Labour government. And the public are entitled to have their say. And that's why there should be a general election.
Well, supporters of Boris Johnson are now calling for his return, saying he should replace Liz Truss. And there are reports he could run in the next week's leadership contest, with a Bring Back Boris campaign already gaining momentum on social media. Meanwhile, the First Minister of Scotland, Nicola Sturgeon, says there are no words to adequately describe what she has said is an utter shambles for the Tory party.
I don't see, firstly, how there is any possibility of this dysfunctional, broken Tory party uniting behind any alternative Prime Minister, as I said a moment ago, let alone one that would be in the public interest. But all of these names, I mean, Boris Johnson, it is ridiculous to suggest that a Prime Minister who just, 2 or 3 months ago, resigned in deep disgrace could come back and be Prime Minister again. And if that happens, all that does is prove beyond a shadow of a doubt of how utterly broken UK Westminster politics is.
Well, in other news today, a US citizen has admitted she was responsible for the death of the British teenager Harry Dunn. Appearing via video link, Anne Sakoulas pleaded guilty to causing his death by dangerous driving. The 19-year-old was killed in a crash outside a US military base in Northamptonshire in August 2019. Sakoulas was given diplomatic immunity and was allowed to leave the country 19 days after the collision. She'll be sentenced at the end of next month. Harry's mother says she promised her son justice.
Making that promise, not only to him directly, hoping that wherever he was at that point, he could hear me. I've never broken a promise to either of my boys, and I damn well was not going to start.
People working with children should be legally required to report cases of child sexual abuse or face prosecution themselves. That's one of the key findings of an independent 7-year inquiry. It says some institutions are failing to protect children and calls for a new child protection authority to be established in England and Wales. And it's emerged a Russian fighter jet released a missile close to a British aircraft over the Black Sea last month. The Defence Secretary Ben Wallace told the Commons today the incident occurred in international airspace, while an RAF surveillance aircraft was on patrol. He says Russia blamed a technical malfunction. Routine patrols were temporarily suspended but have now resumed. Now, a print of the King's painting of Balmoral Castle from 2001 has sold for more than £5,500 at auction. His Majesty's previous paintings usually sold for around £400 to £600. It's thought to be the first time a print by a reigning monarch has been sold at auction. That's it. You're up to date on TV, online and on DAB+ radio. You're with GB News, the People's Channel, where now we take you live to Deal in Kent, where Michelle has a very special Dewbs & Co.
Thanks for that, Polly. Yes, as you quite rightly point out, we are here live in Kent. I've got a packed, full room, an audience raring to go. Yep. Am I right? Yeah. Woo! Yes, raring to go, so they are. Also, keeping me company tonight, right through, ladies and gentlemen, till 7 o'clock tonight, I have my panel, Martin Daubney, a journalist and former member of the European Parliament. Do you remember those days?
I do.
Brexit Party, party you were with, wasn't you? And we've also got the political commentator and former Lib Dem advisor, Joe Phillips. And you know the drill, don't you? If you are a regular viewer to Dewbs & Co, you know it's not just about us, it is also about you at home. What on earth do you make to all of the goings-on today? The shortest premiership in British history, Liz Truss, has gone. Well, she's resigned. She hasn't gone anywhere yet, but pretty soon she will be. Get in touch with all your thoughts at gbviews at gbnews.uk is my email. As always, you can tweet me at gbnews or at Michelle Dewbs. Right, what I want to do is not mess around. I just want to get straight to the point, everybody. Liz Truss, 24 hours after saying she was a fighter, not a quitter, we saw today a slight reverse on that, shall we say, and she came out and quit. So, can I start, please, with a show of hands? Who in this room thinks that Liz Truss should have resigned today? Right. I'm going to do a very quick assessment of that, and I would say that pretty much everyone. I mean, there is some people that thinks no, but pretty much everyone thinks that yes, she should. Is there anyone that feels passionately that no, she shouldn't have resigned today? Hands up. Anyone passionate? I want to talk to someone who's got their hands up. Sarah, can we go to you? Can you stand up? Get a microphone to you, Sarah. What's your name? What's your name?
Alan Murray.
Hello, welcome. Tell me, so you feel passionately she should not have resigned today, is that right?
I think she should have given him a much bigger chance.
How big?
Well, a lot bigger than what she's had. We have gone through a very tough time. I think the financial problems we're in are huge, but we haven't been really looking. We've been running as governments, preceding governments the last 20 years, running down a cul-de-sac with their eyes shut. I'm afraid I don't think she's totally to blame. I think the whole country for the last 20 years is to blame. Their policies have been absolute rubbish.
Wow, so a bigger chance, more of an opportunity, says Alan. Is anyone in the audience that disagrees with that? Many of you had your hands up saying she should have resigned today. I want to hear from someone who feels that she was right to go. Do not be shy, otherwise this is going to be a very long hour indeed. Hands up. Somebody who thinks she was right to go and doesn't mind telling me why. There, sir. Stand up, please.
Hi, Richard. Just, well, a quick analogy, really. I mean, if you think in football terms, if you've lost the dressing room, you've lost the dressing room, and she'd lost it. And any Premier League manager, once that's happened, it's gone. She never actually had the whole of the Tory party behind her anyway, the MPs, and that was part of the problem. They didn't want her, so it was an existential problem within the party and the system they had for voting her in my opinion. So it's sad for her, and on a human level, what an appalling thing to happen to that woman. But for the country's sake, I think it was probably the right thing to happen.
I've got to say, I do love a football analogy, don't we all? Let me ask you this, though. You say if you've lost the dressing room...
Sure.
There'll be people at home, I suspect, I know some of my viewers, they'll be shouting, going, but hang on a minute, what if the dressing room are behaving like a bunch of so-and-sos? What then?
Well, you need somebody who can command a dressing room. A manager has to pull the team together, and sadly, she didn't have that temperament or ability, in my opinion anyway, to manage to make that happen. Right. So it was been a sad day for her. but a relief for the country, I think.
See, you make an interesting point. Thank you very much. Quick show of hands. How do we feel in this room today? Do we feel optimistic and upbeat about the future of this country today? Hands up. Yes, I found one. I found someone there in the back. There's one person in the room.
He's been stuck here since 1950.
Stand up, sir. Stand up.
He's been at the bar.
An optimism. I like it. Tell me.
You want to know why I feel optimistic?
Please, yes.
It's a wonderful country. Everybody wants to live here. It's got a few problems, but there are problems all over the world. And, you know, you've got to be optimistic. Let's look forward. Let's be hopeful.
Yes.
And we may have a new regime. What more can we do? Otherwise get depressed.
Yes. I hear you. Let me ask this. Yes. Optimism. Is there anyone that heard that motivational speech about being optimistic and doesn't feel optimistic? Is there anyone in this room today that really just feels, ugh? Anyone? Oh, a young chap at the back, yes. Stand up, sir. What's your name?
I'm Ryan.
Hello, Ryan.
If there is not a general election, I believe that this country is doomed. I think the Tories definitely they've had their chance and they've ruined it twice. Boris is sacked from every job he's had, and Liz Truss shambles. The shortest Prime Minister in this country's history. I think Tories out, Labour in, and Keir Starmer to pick up the pieces.
Yes, nice and bold. I appreciate the boldness at the start of the show. I appreciate it. Well, no. All views are welcome on Dewbs and Co. That's what I say. And you make a very valid point, and I'm going to be coming back to that a bit later on in the show, because I am pondering tonight whether or not a general election is indeed the next step this country should take. So we'll be getting into that in just a few minutes. Before I do that, I'm going to go to my panel, but I noticed that you're keen with your hand up. Sir, tell me, what's your name?
James.
James, it's already on.
My name's James.
Yeah.
There lies the problem. We haven't got a choice. Labour's just as bad, so we're at a crossroads where we don't know what to do. So if any of the time is right now, it's the PR. And I think there's people out there that can drive a third movement through, because, as the gentleman said, the Tories have had that day and made a mess of it, but there's nothing in the Tory camp on the table that's going to put it right either. They spend.
Spend. I tell you, by the way, you guys have been getting in touch. You guys have been getting in touch in your droves for today, and if I had £1 for every time a viewer has been in contact so far tonight saying bring back Boris, well, quite frankly, I could retire right now, be absolutely minted, just in this last 10 minutes, I think. But Martin Daubney, let me open this up to you. Liz Truss, was she right to have gone or not?
Well, it's not often you hear the phrase, the Daily Star got it right.
Oh,
Didn't they predict that she'd be outlived by a lettuce? And she has been outlived by a lettuce. You know, she's had the shortest premiership ever. And I think, actually, this was a disaster waiting to happen. And I think changing the leader now will be a bit like changing the captain of the Titanic. I think the Tory party is going down, and I think the iceberg, another lettuce analogy, is Brexit. We have two Tory parties that coexist alongside each other. They've been at war with each other ever since 2016. And Boris had the mandate to get Brexit done as a Brexit Party candidate at the time. That decimated our chances. And they've utterly failed to do that. Look at who's in power now. Jeremy Hunt, the president, was trying to stop Brexit from the very beginning. He's been saying there's 2 weeks to stop Brexit all the way along. He's a rejoiner. He wants to get us back in the European Union. Who in here is scared about Brexit going down the pan? Yeah? You see? That's the point. This is the coup. I've been speaking to Red Wall MPs today. Some are so desperate they want Boris back, despite the fact he's being investigated by the Parliamentary Standards Committee. He's under investigation. It's crazy. They're talking about Kemi Badenoch, people like Kemi. I think Kemi was a progressive choice, but I think probably too radical for this party. I think Rishi lost. He'll be in the final two. Penny Mordaunt might get it. But basically, I think they're doomed if they go that way. And I would urge all of those people, as you said, Captain, I would urge all of those MPs not to go for somebody new, but to phone Nigel Farage and get this country back on a new track.
Well, I tell you, You wouldn't actually need to phone him. You could get a tin can and a bit of string, because he's only around the corner. I know, that's what I mean. He's only around the corner. I think he'd hear you. He'd probably hear you then, quite frankly. He is up next in this very location at 7 o'clock after me. But for now, Joe Phillips, let's bring it back specifically to Liz Truss. Do you think that she was right or wrong to have resigned?
Oh, completely right. And when she said yesterday, you know, I'm a fighter, not a quitter, there were echoes of Margaret Thatcher saying, we fight on, and 24 hours later, she was forced to resign. Liz Truss was never up to the job. And as one of the audience members over there said, she didn't have the backing of the parliamentary party. It was a ridiculous 2-month navel-gazing indulgence during the summer when we knew that energy prices were going to go up, when we knew the war in Ukraine was getting bad and that it was causing shortages and everything. And the Tory party decided to go internally. They want to bring back Boris because they're obsessed with characters. If Margaret Thatcher could be exhumed, they'd bring her back. But they actually, and Ryan is absolutely right, we need a general election. This country deserves a lot better than having another vanity person, another vanity project from the Conservative Party imposed upon us. That would be 3 Prime Ministers that we have not had a chance to vote for. Yeah. And it's a disgrace. We call ourselves the mother of parliaments and, you know, we're very, very big on telling other people about democracy. This is not democratic. And whoever wins next week will not have the mandate of the British people. Yeah.
Unless it's Boris Johnson, actually. There's some would say that he does. But we'll come on to that in just a few minutes. I'll tell you what I'm going to try and stick up for Liz Truss, even just on a human level. I mean, you know, you mentioned there, one of the newspapers, their front page was a lettuce, as you say, a wet lettuce. Yeah. Who will live longer, the wet lettuce or Liz Truss? I think the lettuce did actually win, unfortunately.
It's still there.
But it's not very nice, is it? And, you know, what this was with Liz Truss being elected was democracy. And what I wonder is, are there any Tory...
democracy.
But it was the Tory party members.
But that's not democracy.
Of course it is.
No, it's not. 80,000.
What is it then?
80,000 people, not even the entire Tory party membership, voted for a Prime Minister.
As is the rules. And if it was the other parties, they would be following their rules. That is democracy.
But it's wrong, because what we've seen is this absolute and abject failure. And what it has cost... I mean, we're sitting here because we all like politics. So are you trying to say that the Tory party members, shouldn't be given a vote on who their leader is?
Well,
that's exactly what Graham Brady, chairman of the 1922 committee, is trying to avoid. I mean, they've said this afternoon that it's got to have 100 votes. Each candidate, or any candidate, has got to have at least 100 votes from the MPs. If they go to 2 people, then it will go out online to Tory party members, which, as you remember, Michelle, was not right to do in the summer.
But the point is, though, the 2 candidates that made the final ticket weren't what the members wanted in the first place. The members didn't want Rishi or Liz.
But they were behind Penny. That is the process. This is the process that they have.
But it's like in the European Union. You get chance to vote on 2 people who are like Deadwood.
Are there any Tory party members in this room that did actually vote in the leadership election? Any Tory party members?
No, they're looking for lettuce.
Are they? Or are you really in the room and you're trying to pretend you're not? Is that what's going on here? But I wonder, has anyone got a view on this? Because I do think it was democracy. Whether you think Liz Truss did a good job or a bad job, you know, to me, that was what the process was and is and was followed, and she was rightly elected. So when people say, oh, she's not got a mandate, that doesn't really wash with me. Is there anyone here that actually agrees with me, quite frankly? Or am I on my own?
You're on your own, mate.
Lady here, Can I get a microphone? There you go, just behind you. Thank you. Yes, what's your name?
Sue Smith.
Hello, Sue.
How do you do?
You agree with me, yes?
I agree with you in that these are the rules, you have to play by the rules. The problem is when the losers don't accept who the winners are. Yeah. And this is what happened over the Brexit vote. And so the Remainers have gone on Ramoning. And we are still in this situation whereby you could go back to Brexit and you could make the same choice of who's for and who's against. It's a Brexit issue. And so, yes, Liz Truss was bound to fail, but it was playing by the rules, and I agree that was OK.
And let's pick up on this. Thanks, Sue. Yes, the gentleman here, green jumper. Hello.
Hi, I'm Jerry.
Hi, Jerry.
Hi. Seems to me that all of our MPs believe in democracy. Only unfortunately, a fair number of them only agree with democracy when the voters agree with them.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Jerry, you make a very good point. Your business partner's not Ben, is he? You're not part of Ben and Jerry's ice cream. Has anyone been following that brand?
Yeah,
Ben and Jerry's ice cream brand that can't help but stick the nose in to all things that personally I think they shouldn't be. Anyway, Martin Daubney, you wanted to make a point.
Yeah, I just think, we have to sort of, take stock of who's in the top seats of power. 7 out of 8 of the highest seats in the land are now hardcore Remainers or rejoiners. We have to open our eyes to this. And if Labour get in, it's going to be worse. Now, we're talking about migration, immigration in a coastal seat like Dover. It's a huge, huge issue. I was in the Midlands at the weekend, where I'm from Nottinghamshire, and it's the number one talk about issue apart from the cost of living. This government has utterly, utterly failed on that. If they think it's going to get any better under Grant Shapps, then they need to go to that bar and drink a bottle of scotch. Because really, it's going to be disastrous. And if they lose and Labour get in, well, welcome to Open Borders City. It's going to be terrible for the country. And I would urge all Brexiteers to start tooling up again. Because our opponents are well-funded, well-organised. No, they're well-funded, well-organised.
That is really
tool up for action. I don't mean a weapon. Of course,
no, but you see, it's this tone of language, Martin.
The future...
Hang on. But to be fair,
let's not nitpick about that. The future of the country is at stake once again. And I think we need to open our eyes and be awake to this. Because they want to try and reverse Brexit and go for a second referendum. I'm telling you.
Good. And funnily enough, I think
What do you mean good?
Good. I'd love to have a second referendum.
Of course you would, because democracy is only good when it works for you, as you just said.
But if David Cameron had had any gumption, he was forced into it because he was frightened by Brexit. He didn't have to go ahead with what he could have done, which would have been the grown-up and sensible thing to do, which is say, it is so close, it shows me that we need to do an awful lot of work.
How many times have we heard this? This is like Groundhog Day. It's like Groundhog Day.
It's Groundhog Day when people talk about Brexit and immigration and keep rerunning the same arguments.
The voters here really care about these things. They just said. So we should listen to the voters in places like Dover, where it's key.
When you talk about... yes, and so are jobs. So is the cost of living. So is housing. So is transport. You know that. You got stuck on the train getting down here.
The wheels came off just like the government.
But when you talk about tooling up and that incendiary language and the way...
Hang on.
This is ridiculous.
But this is the tone of voice that stops
I think, to be honest, I think there was a
sensible debate.
Right, but you didn't actually mean people get weapons.
Of course I bloody
And I think everyone in this room... I think, so I think that we all kind of acknowledge that no one's...
It's just banter, don't worry.
That's been another casualty of this entire battle. You're not allowed to speak your mind and be forthright. We're in a coastal town where people say it as they see it. And this obsession with the microcosm of words and triggering, it's ridiculous. The future of the country is at stake and we're allowed to get passionate about that, aren't we?
The future of the... The future of the country was at stake when we had Boris Johnson as a leader and then Liz Truss was elected and tanked the economy, which in the space of 44 days...
But when you say they tanked the economy, what do you mean?
Well, you know exactly what I mean.
No, I'm asking you, what do you mean?
The budget, or the mini-budget, or the fiscal event, or whatever it was supposed to be by the previous Chancellor, which caused the stock markets to absolutely plunge.
Momentarily. Stock markets go up, stock markets come down.
Not to the state
currency
that they
goes
did,
up, currency
Michelle.
goes down.
And the mortgage rates went up.
Yeah.
I mean, it's gone up.
I know, but come on, no one really believes, because I've noticed this, that there is this whole kind of mantra now from, for example, Labour, but not just Labour, that mortgage rates are going up and it's all because of Liz Truss. That's absolute nonsense.
But the interest rates went up.
America.
The Bank of England put interest rates up. The Bank of England had to intervene to save pensions.
The Bank of England raised interest rates way too slowly.
I agree with that.
Their job, you've got one job, your job is to manage inflation, your target for inflation is 2%. It was way over 2% before the Bank of England actually got off their backsides and intervened. And I just want to be absolutely clear with everyone, because most people, if you've got a mortgage that's coming to, renew, or if you're trying to buy a property, it's anxious times. People are anxious about mortgage rates.
But it's gone up from 2% to 6%.
But you need to, the base rate hasn't.
For mortgages.
Yes, but then I would argue how much of that is actually banks trying to profiteer because they're not so quick to raise their rates on the opposite direction when it comes to savings.
The same as petrol companies.
There is no disputing that the impact of that budget, that fiscal event, had a disastrous effect on the stock exchange, on banks and on all of our pensions and our mortgages and our rents.
A lot of which has now been corrected.
Yes, it has been corrected, but in that intervening time, many people had mortgage offers withdrawn. It's caused unnecessary anxiety, and it was done without talking to or getting the advice from or publishing the Office of Budget Responsibility. She ignored everybody. She then blamed it on Kwasi Kwarteng, the previous Chancellor.
But then the entire Remain movement ignored 17.4 million people. Yes. You know, for all those years, and suddenly we have to listen to the electorate. It doesn't work.
Is this just going to be about Brexit?
No,
it's a key point.
No. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to ask one more audience member. Has anyone else got a point that they want to make specifically about? Hang on, specifically about Liz Truss. Because after I'm going to take a quick break, and when I come back from the break, life moves on in politics, and I don't mean to be harsh, but I'm going to move on from Liz Truss and look to the future. So before I do so, anyone else got anything they're desperate to get off their chest about Truss? Hello. You're there.
Hi. Yeah, I was actually going to make a point about Brexit because...
What? You didn't need...
No, I think you need a bit of a rebuttal to what you're saying, because during the referendum we had...
Well, can I ask you a nice question then? Can you save that to the Brexit part? Because I want to... This is going to be my next part, the future going forward, what's everything looking like for this country. So can I ask you to hold that thought for 2 seconds? Because has anyone else got anything else to say on Liz Truss before I go to a break and forget all about her and move on? Hello. Is it about Liz Truss?
Well, part of it is, but I think everything is connected. And my concern has always been, did Michelle did she... Not Michelle.
Michelle, don't blame me. No, it's me. It's not my fault. Yeah, it's not my fault. I didn't do it.
Did Liz Truss, did she jump or was she pushed? And this brings me on to the next question, is if she was pushed, we all know she was pushed, but is it those same people that are pushing that are causing the instability in the markets and are creating the absolute rubbish that we've got in this country
You
at the
make
moment?
a very good point. Hands up, who thinks she was pushed?
Well, hang on a minute. Can we just define pushed? Because if that's...
Right, do you know what I'm going to do? We're going to have a conversation where we define push in the break. When we come back, we'll be talking about what is the future of this country, who is going to be next, what should they be getting on with, what does it mean for Brexit? I'm not going to forget about you, don't worry. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in 2.
Weekday afternoons on GB News, we've got the whole of the UK covered. From 12 to 3, it's GB News Day with me, Mark Longhurst.
And me, Gloria Di Piero. You'll get the very latest on everything that's been going on across our great nation.
And from 3 till 6, watch out for GB News Live with me, Patrick Christys. I'm not here to mess around with all the biggest topics and guests. You will always be up to date. GB News Day and GB News Live from 12 p.m.
Only on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello there, it's Eamon Holmes here from Breakfast on GB News. We're not just on your television and your screens, you know.
We're on DAB plus digital radio, so you can listen to your favourite shows on the move.
If you've not yet listened to GB News Radio, it's very simple. We're on your radio player and TuneIn apps, on your smart speaker, phone or tablet, or online at gbnews.uk.
Take us with you wherever you go. GB News Radio.
You never have to miss a moment of the People's Channel.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. You've been cancelled. Join the club.
Oh my goodness me.
And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
Hello, I'm Simon Evans. Join me on GB News for Headliners at 11 p.m, where I'll be joined by 2 of the country's top comedians as we take a look at tomorrow's newspapers tonight. If it's a big story, we'll be covering it, I guarantee, but we'll also have some fun along the way. That's GB News Headliners at 11 p.m. We won't put you to sleep, unlike some of the other paper review shows out there. So join us, 11 p.m, 7 nights a week.
Hello there. Welcome back to a very lively Kent. I'm loving it.
Yes.
Welcome back. What can I say? If you've missed the first part of my programme, you've missed out, because we've been reflecting on what on earth has been going on with Liz Truss. Was she, did she go of her own kind of choice? Was she pushed? What does that look like? Was it right that she went, or was it wrong? And if you missed it, you missed out, because now I want to move on. And with you until 7 o'clock tonight, my panel, Martin Daubney, is a journalist and former member of the European Parliament. And alongside him, we've got the political commentator and former Lib Dem advisor, Joe Phillips. Lots and lots and lots of response from all you guys at home as well. Many of you, as I said right at the start, you've continued, you've not let me down. You're all saying, bring back Boris. So, I mean, should we just cut it there and go to the pub? Should we just leave it there? I'm done with it? No. Not really, because there's a lot to discuss. Because, as we've just been saying, another Tory leader bites the dust. Well, we're going through them, aren't we? She said, of course, that she wasn't going to go anywhere. She was a fighter, not a quitter, and then she quit. Anyway, let's look, shall we? What's next? Who's going to be next?
Well, there's a lot of desperation within the Conservative Party, and I say that as somebody who's very pally with a lot of, especially the Red Wallers, where I'm from and where I fought in the West Midlands and the East Midlands during 2 election cycles. And I think the call for Boris is one of only he can save us from a certain massacre. That's what they feel. Even people that voted against him, voted for Boris to be removed from office, are now prepared to vote him back in. I think that's the kind of paucity of talent that there seems to be. I think that's the real issue. Who is an actual successor who can unite the party and unite the country? Rishi is a Romaniac. He's a globalist. He's tied into the WEF. I think he doesn't really care about protecting borders and fighting for Brexit. It's the same with other candidates. Kemi is great, but I think we won't get her. I think she'd be a very progressive choice. But I think actually sometimes in life you maybe just need to have a big forest fire and start again. And I think that's where we're at with the Conservative Party, because there are 2 parties within a party. Sorry to bring Brexit into it again, but that did expose this huge rift. And I just think, if we were honest, maybe those Tories should join the Liberal Democrats, and we should start a new party with proper Conservatives, and as I keep saying, joining forces with Nigel Farage. That's what I would like to see.
Before I bring Joe in, I just want to, in case you've not been keeping up to date with all the twists and turns, by the way, of what's been going on, apparently we're going to know who our new leader is before the next fiscal statement, which is bizarrely on Halloween. Sometimes I do think, do these people just... But that's, honestly, I don't know if I just make things...
Who's making it?
But I just don't know if I make things too simple, because I just think, what are you thinking?
Yeah.
Why would you give the media that kind of opportunity to rinse you by doing your fiscal statement on Halloween? I just think, who's in charge of these people? Anyway, by next Friday, the 28th, we will know who our Prime Minister is. That's the latest date. So just to run you through this process, we're going to have... the threshold is 100 MPs now. So this is how it's going to work. So anyone that wants to run, you've got to have 100 backers, OK? Then you're going to have an online vote. So if you remember, according to you lot, none of you are Tory party members in this room. I'm not sure if I believe that. I'm not sure if I believe that, or if you just don't want to admit it. But if you're a Tory party member, if there's 2 candidates, as Joe said, you will get a chance to vote. Joe Phillips, who should be our next leader in your view?
Well, I have to say that I agree with Martin to a certain extent.
Make a note of that.
Yeah, wow, I did not see that coming.
But I do think it is time for slash and burn. And lots of political parties, they the
What
Tories...
does that mean?
To start again.
How come you tell him off when he says get to Brexit, and then you can say slash and burn?
It was his
I give up, ladies and gentlemen. I thought we were supposed to be doing trigger warning. And
You see, I'm not offended by that. It's free speech, as you wish.
You said it.
Right, anyway, go on. So,
but I think we have to have a general election, and how on earth that could happen, who knows, because it would be the Conservative Party MPs voting for Christmas. One thing I would like to say, which I hope you will agree with, actually, Martin, I don't believe that people go into politics, by and large, for wrong reasons. They go in to make a difference, to try and make things better.
They used to.
The audience is having none of that.
But there are an awful lot of very decent, very hard-working MPs who are probably going to lose their seats.
Yeah.
And, you know, just as the same happens for Labour and the Liberal Democrats, it happened to the Liberal Democrats after the coalition. They were punished for that. It happens. But I do think that, you know, there is a point where you think this is just ridiculous. If we are looking at the same lot that didn't get through last time in the summer, which feels like about 100 years ago, you know, is it going to be Rishi Sunak and Penny Mordaunt? Is it going to be any of the above? Jeremy Hunt's ruled himself out. Michael Gove's ruled himself out.
Thank God.
But, you know...
If the SNP put 20-odd seats in Parliament, surely a full party can.
So let me ask the audience this question. Joe says that these days you have the sentiment that people go into politics because they're genuinely passionate, they want to help, they want to do good. Do you buy that?
I'm not
I heard
saying
some
that they're
words of
all
words.
good at all, but I do think there are decent people, and I think anybody who saw Charles Walker, a Tory MP, on the television or heard him on the radio last night, could not fail to have been moved by the absolute desperation.
He was the Tory MP, in case you didn't see it.
He's
He
a
was
Tory
absolutely
MP.
furious.
He's been there for 17 years. He's retiring at the next election. But he was so upset and angry, quite rightly, at this bunch of talentless loons who have taken the party
I thought, how come
and the
you
country.
keep telling him he's got to watch his language? And then you're quite derogatory and quite a broad
I'm not talking about tooling up.
I'm not offended.
Right.
You might be by the end.
Let's get straight to the heart of the matter. To me, I think this is a very interesting point. Before we move on to Brexit and all things like that, I want to talk about the B word, not Brexit, Boris Johnson. There's been rumours today that he potentially is going to throw his hat in the ring. So, quick show of hands, who thinks that Boris Johnson should return as the Prime Minister of this country? Hands up. Do you know, you surprised me, actually.
Yes.
I thought...
Not many at all.
I have to say, you've really surprised me. Keep your hands up if you think that Boris Johnson... There's not many of you at all. Who can I talk to? Can I get a microphone to this lady here? Hi there, do you want to stand up? What's your name? You want
My name's
Boris?
Jenny. Yes, I think Boris is absolutely brilliant, and I think he will bring the country together, and they know they'll get their northern voters back as well.
Do you reckon?
I do,
A lot of
absolutely.
those red wall seats. I have to say, I think that Boris Johnson, whether you like him or you loathe him, I think people can't deny that he had... I don't know what you want to call it, a bit of stardust or whatever, and he attracted people into politics, perhaps to vote, many of whom perhaps hadn't voted either at all before, certainly not Tory, or hadn't voted for a long while. I want to hear from someone else who thinks that Boris should return. Hold your thoughts, Jerry. I've heard from Jerry. I'll come back to you if no one else wants to speak.
Lady at the back there?
Lady at the back there. Here we go. What's your name? Tell me, why do you want Boris?
My name's Alison.
Put the mic there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't be shy, Alison. We're all friends.
Okay. Boris wasn't perfect, but as a matter of principle, I think he should still be in place so that the public can decide if they wanted to get rid of him. It's a bit like allowing a naughty child to apologise and... Sorry, I forgot.
That's all right. Naughty child, allowing him to apologise.
Principle. It was all wrong because it's basically allowed all the ones that are continuously pushing to get their way.
Right, I hear you, Alison. I hear you. So Boris is the man for Alison. Joe, you're going to respond?
Well, I just want to make a point that Boris Johnson is still under investigation by the Parliamentary Committee.
Oh, they're not having any of that either.
Well, they might not, but it's a fact. You might not like it and you might think he was a naughty child. Other people, like me, think he lied to Parliament, he lied to the Queen, and he's disgraced the office of Prime Minister and the importance of parliamentary process. Because that investigation is underway or is ongoing, it is quite possible that if he came back with all that charisma and buffoonery and everything else, that we would have a complete Groundhog Day, because if they found him guilty of lying to Parliament, he would be forced to resign. So we'd be
But would you
back
concede he's got a mandate, though, given the outcome of
Not
the 2019
now.
election?
Not now.
Right.
He was taken out of Parliament by his own party.
Pushed out, some would say. I want to hear from someone who just groaned then. When Jo made a good point, she said he's under investigation. She's absolutely right. Who groaned and basically said that doesn't matter?
There's a lot of groaning back there.
Yeah, there was.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell me why you groaned? I don't think they do want to tell me. Oh,
Yeah,
yes, we found someone that does. Hello. Stand up, tell me why. Do you care that Boris is under investigation or not?
Well, I feel he was just pushed out. He wasn't actually voted out.
But
by
what
the
about
public.
Joe's point in terms of, you know, he is getting under investigation.
I'd just like to say, what about Keir Starmer and his curry gate?
Yeah.
That seemed to me as if it was a complete Labour cover-up.
Yeah.
Everyone up north were behind him and he got away with it. But poor old Boris, his birthday party, a little sip of a drink, and we got to get rid of him. And where is the justice there?
Oh, the party.
Why was the Met Police going mad, issuing writ after writ, whereas the rest of the country weren't taking it as seriously?
I think.
That's it.
Joe Phillips, you're earning your money tonight, Joe. Go on, respond.
I know, I'm not making any friends, I'm sure. But anyway, whatever you think, and if you think Boris Johnson was treated unfairly and you want to go down the route of, you know, the stuff that we've heard before, the fact remains that he is being investigated by a parliamentary committee. If they find him guilty, and that's not a stitch-up from the Metropolitan Police or anybody else, although I'm sure some people would say it is, he would have to resign. So the point I'm making is that it would be extremely dangerous, I think, for the Conservative Party in the perilous state that they're in, as Martin has said,
to go back
to that with the possibility that in a few months we're back to square one again.
Can I just sort of get the audience's reaction on do you guys feel that the media was certainly responsible for being very, very against Boris? We had trial by media. You know, the mainstream media channels, BBC, Sky News, Channel 4, were crucifying the guy. Because I think now, talking about the media quickly, GB News, the home of impartiality, but the mainstream media now is so against the Conservative Party. It's so against Boris. It was so against Brexit. And who's actually making the decisions? It sometimes feels to me that the journalists are pushing this narrative. They're forcing the markets into hysteria. They're driving the hysteria on social media. It's fueling the cycle. It's like, oh my gosh. And who's actually putting the strings? I think the journalists have got a lot to answer for.
Right.
Well, you are a journalist and so
Yeah, I know. And I'm here being impartial.
So, hold that thought, because I do like to, I have to go to a break and step, but I like to stay true to my words. So we had a question here about Brexit specifically. Can I get a microphone? Here we go. So carry on, your thoughts or your question on Brexit?
Yeah, we've basically had a hard Brexit, and part of the reason why is because a lot of people who hijacked the sort of Brexit referendum, people like yourself, are kind of the sort of Thatcherite neoliberal. We need to sort of just cut off all ties. We need to cut off all ties from the European Union and not go for any kind of, Norway option or any kind of compromise. Well, we've basically had a hard Brexit, and people are still coming over in boats. The only people who can't get into the country are lorries, people coming back from holiday. So what's your response to that? What would you actually say is the solution in your opinion?
Well, I would disagree. I don't think we had a clean break Brexit whatsoever. I mean, certainly around the coastal communities, 187 coastal communities, are utterly betrayed in terms of fishing. No, we didn't get the fishing that we wanted. And in terms of the option, hang on a sec, we didn't get the proper control of borders. We're being led by the nose by lawyers and activists and France, and we have a taxi service in the forms of the RNLI.
That's wrong.
No, it's not. It's correct.
Wrong.
And that's what people say to me all the time.
Sorry, Martin.
You guys live in Dover. Do you agree?
Yes, and I live here as well.
They agree.
If it's about migration, we'll come back to that.
It's about the RNLI.
And
I'm sorry, I will not
Okay,
allow...
you've had plenty to say.
No,
Can I finish my point?
Is it? Hang on, because
no, it's very specific about the RNLI. the Royal National Lifeboat Institution, to call it a taxi service does those people who are volunteers an absolute discredit.
It's also.
I live
listen,
here.
It's also. It's also.
I work
but
with them.
But listen, so long as there is a pull factor, and that's all the
So
charities that
hold
roll
on,
out the
hold on a
blankets.
minute. Just
I-
both of you. Hold
I
on.
just
Because this is a fascinating debate and it's one that I want to give proper time to.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take a quick break. When we come back, I want to return to this conversation. I want to talk about migration. We got yesterday, didn't we? I almost laughed because I just think God only knows what tomorrow will bring. But yesterday we got a new Home Secretary. Is he the man that's going to fix the crossings on the channel? I don't think my audience thinks so. I'll see you in 2.
Weekday afternoons on GB News, we've got the whole of the UK covered. From 12 to 3, it's GB News Day with me, Mark Longhurst.
And me, Gloria Di Piero. You'll get the very latest on everything that's been going on across our great nation.
And from 3 till 6, watch out for GB News Live with me, Patrick Christys. I'm not here to mess around with all the biggest topics and guests. You will always be up to date. GB News Day and GB News Live from 12 p.m.
Only on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello there, it's Eamon Holmes here from Breakfast on GB News. We're not just on your television and your screens, you know.
We're on DAB plus digital radio, so you can listen to your favourite shows on the move.
If you've not yet listened to GB News Radio, it's very simple. We're on your radio player and tune-in apps, on your smart speaker, phone or tablet, or online at gbnews.uk.
Take us with you wherever you go. GB News Radio.
You never have to miss a moment of the People's Channel.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. You've been cancelled. Join the club. Oh my goodness me. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
Hello, I'm Simon Evans. Join me on GB News for Headliners at 11 p.m, where I'll be joined by 2 of the country's top comedians as we take a look at tomorrow's newspapers tonight. If it's a big story, we'll be covering it, I guarantee, but we'll also have some fun along the way. That's GB News Headliners at 11 p.m. We won't put you to sleep, unlike some of the other paper review shows out there. So join us, 11 p.m, 7 nights a week.
Welcome back to Dewbs & Co live in Kent. Ooh, it's been a bit of a fiery one so far. If you've just joined us, you have missed the debates about Liz Truss. Was she right to go or not? And also, who should take our country forward? I mean, we'll know the answer to that. I think it's next Friday. Oh, what a day it has been, keeping me company right through with you until 7 o'clock tonight. My panel, we've got Martin Daubney, who's a journalist and former member of the European Parliament, and the political commentator and former Lib Dem advisor, Joe Phillips. Lots and lots and lots of you guys getting in touch at home as well. Still, you're all saying, bring back Boris. Many of you saying that. Adrian says, it's all a farce. You cannot keep changing leaders. The answer is a general election. So I'll throw that to the good people of Kent. Hands up. Who thinks we should have a general election? Yes. Oh, I would say, I don't know if you can see all the hands that I can see. I would say it's about 50-50. I would say 50-50.
So what do they want instead?
Joe's asking, well, what do you want instead? So someone who doesn't want a general election, what do you want instead? I'll get a microphone to someone. There's someone there at the back there.
At the back. Yeah.
Stand up. Tell me if you don't want a general election. Joe's asking, what do you want instead?
Here's an idea. Absolute monarchy. Revoke Parliament.
Wow.
Everyone's been... If anything has been proven to be true in the last 30 years, it is that the Conservative Party is little more than just an opportunity for a series of amoral people to pander to one another, to get the top job, and then realise they have no idea what they're doing. Liz Truss is the literal embodiment of all of that. She has a perfect record of breaking every single policy she's ever supported. What did everyone think they were going to get when they supported her? Seriously.
Well, there you go. He's having absolutely no... Right. Absolutely. I mean, as I mentioned, I am here in Kent, and quite frankly, I think it'd be rude to end the show without touching on one of the biggest stories affecting people here. And I know it's something that many people up and down the country feel very passionate about. Of course, I speak about the number of small boats illegally crossing the channel. The latest figures, more than 35,000 people this year. I mean, I don't think there's anyone anywhere actually that doesn't think this is all just out of control. It's an absolute joke now. We found out yesterday, Joe Phillips, we've got a new Home Secretary, Grant Shapps. I mean, goodness only knows if he'll still be the Home Secretary this time next week, but let's gloss over that. Do you think he could be the man for the job? What do you think he should do to tackle this?
Well, I think, we don't know whether he's still going to be in place next week, as you rightly say.
Let's just call him question mark then. So the new Home Secretary, question mark, what should they do?
If there's a lettuce as Home Secretary...
I thought you wanted to be nice.
Well, not to the Tory Home Secretary.
Oh, right, OK. We're only nice to people that we agree
Nobody
with,
is going to solve this problem until they deal with the criminals and the criminal gangs that are sending people to possible death and certainly not caring whether they are going to a death from the other side of the English Channel. And that's what's got to be addressed. Unfortunately, and it is a truth, and I know that Martin will slap me down in frames and everybody will
slap you down. That'd be inflammatory.
I'm going to have to put all these trigger warnings on, aren't I? Goodness me, talk of slapping and go on.
When we came out of Europe, that didn't do an awful lot for our relationship, and admittedly it wasn't that great before on certain issues, particularly migration. But we've actually pulled ourselves away from a lot of other things and a lot of cooperation. And to say that it's made no difference is absolutely ridiculous. It has made a huge difference. Look at the lorry queues. When you go across the channel, it takes you ages to get through. We've lost Ashford International. We've lost Ebbsfleet as international stations.
What's this got to do with the people crossing the channel?
No, but it's about the impact of Brexit, and that is my point.
We've moved on from Brexit. We're talking about the channel
Well, you
crossing.
haven't, because it's all part of the same
So
thing.
you think people are crossing the channel from France because of Brexit?
No, I don't say that,
Right.
Michelle, and you know I didn't. But what I'm saying is that we have got an even worse relationship with our continental neighbours.
Our relationship's
since
not that bad. France take tens of millions of pounds off us. They don't dislike us that much. Martin Daubney, where do you stand?
Well, this government has absolutely and totally lost control of illegal immigration. That's an absolute truth. Look at the numbers. The facts speak for themselves. Look at the videos from Dungeness, from around here, of people flocking ashore every day. These aren't from a war zone. France isn't a war zone. Let's just get that into perspective. They are, on the whole, they are economic refugees. The facts speak for themselves. A lot of Albanians coming over. They're paying a small amount to be here. They're disappearing into the country. We're spending £5 million a day on hotels alone. It's an absolute disgrace when we see our own veterans homeless on the streets. And unless... The gentleman there talked about we had a hard Brexit. One of the real fault lines of Brexit was our continued membership of the European Court of Human Rights. And Suella Braverman dared to speak out about that, and that's why she's toast. That's why she's toast. We're still being led by the nose by activists and by lawyers and by charities, and that pull factor, they are complicit in enabling human trafficking and endangering lives. And as we approach the autumn, there will be more tragedies, and I'm afraid blood will be on their hands too.
I want to give the final word on this topic. I want to give the final word on this topic to people in this room. Anyone got any strong sentiments that they want to share?
Behind you that didn't finish.
But hold on, is there anyone else? But I want to hear from a new face. There's lots of people that have already spoken. Anyone new that hasn't spoken, that wants to get anything off their chest? Lady at the back there. Do you want to stand up? Hello, good evening.
I agree with the 2 points that you both made. But there is the pull factor. We do have to address the pull factor. You look at, all these migrants crossing Europe. What are other countries doing? We go on, people go on about how fantastic Europe is. Are they putting up these people in hotels? No, they're not. So we should look around what are the other countries doing. And if they're not putting them up in hotels, why should we? There's the pull factor.
The pull factor.
There are the gangs. Joe's absolutely right. We've got to deal with gangs.
Mm-hmm.
There's the fact, RNLI, I know you said that it was a slur on them to call them a taxi service. That's nothing against the people doing the job. They're honourable, decent people doing that. But they are effectively just, they go over the international line into French waters.
There you go.
Yeah.
This lady,
so they should be going back to the French coast when the RNLI should not cross that line, and we should be contacted. We've got technology.
I'm going to make this lady the next Home Secretary. Right. And just look at the time. Very, very, very quickly, because Mr Farage is waiting.
Performance-related pay. Every time they send a boat back to their own shores, then they can have some money to sort that.
Yeah, go on.
Oh, blimey. That's an innovative policy. Final word, Joe.
Just very quickly, maritime law, you have to rescue people in distress. You don't go, sorry, it's over the board. Yes, you do. Yes,
well,
you do.
I can tell
Yes, you do.
I can tell you, this is a conversation that will rumble on. I have very much enjoyed the debate tonight. It does not finish here. The People's Forum continues in a few minutes with Nigel Farage. We'll continue the conversation with these people. You've been absolutely incredible, as have you, Joe, as have you, Martin. Thank you very much. They shake hands. That's how that's what we do on Dewbs and Co. Respectful disagreement. Thank you very much. Have a good evening. Don't go anywhere. Nigel Farage is up next.
Hello, Alex Deakin here with your latest weather update from the Met Office. A day of blustery showers to come tomorrow. Should be a bit drier in the east compared to today, and everywhere it will again be pretty mild. In fact, mild for the next several days. We've got low pressure moving in, bringing the showers tomorrow. It kind of fizzles out on Saturday, a bit of a gap across the south before another low arrives on Sunday, bringing further bands of showers. Let's get back to tonight, because it's a pretty wet affair across a good part of eastern Scotland. Some heavy bursts mixed in, but that rain easing off as it spreads across the far north. Then something a bit drier, easing off the rain across northeast England, but turning misty with a few fog patches. And then here come the showers into the southwest. Everywhere it's going to be a pretty mild night, double digits for the vast majority. On to Friday's weather. We start with heavy showers for Wales, the Midlands, southwest England. But those showers spread more widely to Northern Ireland, southern Scotland, right across northern England. Much of eastern England will be dry for most of the day, certainly a lot drier than today. But even here, some showers are likely come the late afternoon and into the evening. The winds will be picking up. That means the showers will tend to zip through, but it also means it won't perhaps feel as mild as those temperatures would suggest. Could easily get up to 18 or 19 when the sun comes out between the showers through the south. Plenty more of those showers around tomorrow evening as well across all parts of the country. But as we go through Friday night into Saturday, notice the showers easing off across England and Wales. So here, actually, a decent chance that most of Saturday